And I know so many residents of Hamilton Park are seeing at last what it means when you are regarded by an administration and leadership at every level, state, local, and federal, that understands the meaning of your work. You never gave up. You worked tirelessly to document the stories of this community, to bring it together, to pull a vision together, and ultimately to deliver this grant. And you have a lot to be proud of in this community today. You know, in the 2 years since I've been sworn in this job, I've seen and we've supported wonderful examples of how infrastructure can connect, can transform communities for the better. And our national transportation system, from the interstate highways to the rail networks, are remarkable. Some of the greatest achievements in the history of this country. But we've also seen, and I've seen firsthand, how pieces of infrastructure that ought to be connected wind up doing the opposite. Hamilton Park in the 1950s looked very different than how it looks today. It was a prosperous and much more diverse, active neighborhood. It was an actual park, lined with trees, covered with grass, connected by Humboldt Parkway to parks and neighborhoods across the city, part of the vision of Frederick Law Olmsted. And it is difficult, but for the community voices we've heard, it might be impossible to even imagine that green oasis. But we have heard those voices of the community. One resident talked to us about what it was like seeing that neighborhood and all its greenery, walking to the science museum with her family. Another described walking past all of the thriving businesses on the streets on her way to ice skating during the wintertime. And a lot share memories of how different neighborhoods would come together for football games in that park, going to schools, diverse schools that were half black, half white. Decades later, people who remember the beauty and the vibrancy and the joy of the old Hamilton Park and the pain of what came next. When that expressway came in, it destroyed hundreds of homes and changed this neighborhood. Businesses shuttered, the ones that weren't already mowed down to make way for the project. Property values plummeted, jobs disappeared. And that didn't just make the neighborhood worse off, it made the whole city worse off. Consciously or not, we all know that infrastructure can divide. It's encoded into our language. The fact that American English has the phrase wrong side of the tracks tells you everything you need to know about our awareness deep down that infrastructure can divide just as sure as it can connect. And we can't ignore the reality that this highway left this community more segregated and more isolated from the social and economic life of the rest of the city. Some of the planners behind highways here and elsewhere built them directly through the heart of vibrant communities, sometimes to reinforce segregation, sometimes because it was the path of least resistance, almost always because black neighborhoods and low-income neighborhoods did not have the power to resist or reshape those projects.